Thanks for joining me in my new studio in West Cork, Ireland, where we're getting ready to offer in-person and virtual classes coming this fall and retreats next spring. This Psoas video is a little bit of a celebration for me. If I look back about 3 years ago, my #1 video on YouTube is a relaxation for the Psoas. And it is still the same movement I do when my psoas is being cranky, with some additions. So there are some updates, and know that I prefer to think of the psoas as not so much releasing it, relaxing it, but hydrating it. Take a moment to think of the term hydrating, the difference between a beef tenderloin and a piece of beef jerky. That's your psoas. Which one do you want? So that's what this video is about. Or for you vegetarians, a string bean or a cucumber, right? So all you'll need is your mat and some space to slide your feet. If it's too sticky, fold your mat in half. We're going to come down into constructive rest pose, which is very healing for the psoas. And in my estimation, there's no way to rightfully relax or rehydrate the psoas if we don't consider our breathing, because the diaphragm and the psoas have a very intimate relationship. Take a moment and just place your hands right at the bottom of the rib cage. See if you can get a little bit of movement by breathing in that space under your hands, breathing into your ribs. As you do so, just visualize the back body right at the bottoms of the ribs. So that's where we have our 12th vertebrae, where both the diaphragm and the psoas connect. That interconnectedness is what gives them that intimate relationship, as if they can talk to each other. So if we're not breathing right, that doesn't help psoas. And I have many other videos where you can get more into the details of why the psoas does what it does. This is more just a movement, a functional practice for you. But nonetheless, we want to qualify the psoas through the breath, through the diaphragm. And just take a few more breaths into your ribs. And as you're doing so, focus on the breath out and just letting your spine feel completely supported on the earth. And then we're going to slide the hands down to the abdomen. You might even touch your thumb and index finger together, and let the pinky fingers kind of fall right into the groin area. That's often where we can palpate the psoas, although it attaches. The attachment point down there is in the inner legs. And bring your breath into your abdomen so you feel your abdomen rising and filling on your breath in, and gently releasing and emptying on the breath out. As you feel the movement in the front body, you might visualize the back body, that lumbar area, and get in touch with how you feel the curve in your lumbar area, because often that area is affected when we have tight psoas, and we just want to check in our constructive rest if our legs are where we would like them to be, the most appropriate space. So start to walk your heels in toward your buttocks. And notice as you do so, does it feel like that lumbar, those 5 vertebrae in the low back, start to push into the ground? Or it might even feel like your tailbone is lifting. So you're lengthening your lumbar curve, but you're also completely removing that lumbar curve. And how does that feel? Can you sense the way you just flattened the low back? And then we'll do the opposite. Walk your heels away from your hips and walk slowly so you can notice when that arch in the lumbar spine starts rising up. And when it rises up to a point where it feels too short or pinched or just uncomfortable, which is often something that is present when we have psoas issues, that lumbar curve is overemphasized. So walking your feet out and see when you can feel that discomfort down there. So when we're in constructive rest doing these movements, we want to have our feet arranged so they're not too far from the buttocks to create that unnatural hyper curve. We also don't want the heels so close to our buttocks that we're flattening the curve. So find that space right in between. You might note where your back of your hips rest on the ground. And take a few more breaths into the belly, just landing. So we need to understand the way our breathing mechanism works. The breath in is like floating, it's levity, and right now to the abdomen. And the breath out is a down, and it's gravity. And we're going to begin to move to that breath. You can keep your hands on your belly as tools or take them to their sides. I'm going to take mine to the sides just so you can see. So next time you take a breath in, imagine your belly filling like a big balloon and lifting the lumbar area off the ground. So there's that curve, that bigger curve we found when we walked our feet out. Now as you breathe out, slowly press the low back and low ribs into the ground. You might feel your tailbone lift. And there is where when we walk the heels closer in towards our buttocks, where we felt the low back lengthen or the curve disappear. So we're using our breath now to begin to facilitate this, what we call a pelvic tilting. Breathing in, the back arches. We increase the lumbar curve and the belly rises. Breathing out, we contract the abdomen just slightly or feel it coming in towards the back of the spine and lengthen the low back. So finding this movement, inhaling, abdomen floats up, low back floats up. We feel the weight go into the tailbone, maybe even into the shoulders. You might feel it in the upper body. As you breathe out, the tailbone lifts, the low back presses into the ground, the low ribs press into the ground, and the shortness is in the front of the body. So let's do a cycle looking at where the shortness is on the inhalation. The shortness or the compression is in the back side of the body. You're shortening your spine. On the exhalation, you're shortening the distance from the pubic bone, maybe all the way to your chest, or at least from the pubic bone to the navel center. You'll feel that. And now let's look at what is lengthening. On your inhalation next time, notice how the whole front of the torso is filling and expanding. Maybe not just the belly, you might even feel it through your rib cage. On your breath out, the whole back body is lengthening. From the tailbone, perhaps even feel it all the way through the shoulder blades. So we want to find this arch and curl movement before we go into the rest of the psoas hydration. And this alone is very powerful, especially if your low back is cranky. Take a few more and then we'll get started with adding the leg and arm movements. So you're going to pause for a moment. The breath in will continue to take you into the arch and float up. Now add on the breath out. Draw your whole left leg line. We'll start with the left leg. Even the top of the foot towards your shin, your thigh towards your ribs. So we're coming into hip flexion, which is what the psoas does, one of its responsibilities. You're going to draw that leg in as tight as you can. Notice how the tailbone's lifting, the low back is lengthening, particularly on the left side. And just hold for a few breaths so we feel. What does that feel like to flex the hip? Even draw the foot in. And then inhale, drop that foot down and arch the back again. Let's do that one more time. Exhale, press low back, low ribs into the ground and draw the foot in. So we're basically shortening a psoas muscle on the left side. All right, let's add the other part. Inhale, take the foot down. Arch your back, so we want to continue the arch. Exhale, draw the leg in, hold for a few breaths. When you're ready to inhale next time, extend by just sliding. So we don't want to keep the weight of the leg up here and use the muscles. You want to keep the leg muscles as relaxed as possible. So you're going to extend the left leg on the inhale by sliding the heel. Let the leg be supported by the ground. As you do that, you're still arching. As you exhale, let the leg relax. You can even shake it out and gently press low back, low ribs down, just like we were doing before. So don't be surprised if you feel a stretch in the top of the thigh here, or if the leg is still not all the way on the ground. That can be a sign of psoas being tight. But we're going to continue the rocking motion with the left leg long and relaxed. So inhale and arch, and exhale and curl. Same movement we did in constructive rest. Inhale and arch, and exhale and curl. Just noticing particularly the left side. So this one is working the left side of the psoas, which there can be imbalance. Maybe just one side is cranky. Arching and curling. Take your last round. Keeping the leg as relaxed as possible. Shake it out if it's not. Give it a little jelly roll. And then bring that leg back. We're going to do that 2 more times, and I'm going to give you an addition that's not in the first video. So now inhale and arch your back again. Exhale, curl the leg in, and if it feels okay, place your your left hand behind the head. Hug your arm in, lift your shoulder blade off and your head. But use the upper body, so not just bringing the chin towards the chest, but lift from your shoulders. Shorten the whole left side, think from armpit to hip, and hold for just a few breaths there if you can. If this doesn't work for you, if it's contraindicated, just keep the head on the ground and do what we did last time. Otherwise, think every exhalation, it's like you're shortening the left side of the body, the whole front. Take a few breaths there. So this is the psoas working. Many other muscles involved as well, though. But picture that psoas short. Now, as you inhale, let the arm come down in the head. Extend the leg like we did last time. Let the leg relax and do a few arch and curls. See if you can keep that leg relaxed, and notice if the back of the thigh was further from the ground. One of the ways you know if this is helping is you might either sense that the back of the thigh is coming closer to the ground. You also might feel less pulling in the front of the thigh, or sometimes you'll feel the pulling all the way up by that 12th vertebrae. All right, one more like this for the left side. Slide that leg back in. Inhale and arch. Exhale, curl the leg in, curl the spine. Lift your head if you'd like. So it's like you're bringing your elbow towards your knee, but you want to feel like it's more of a torso movement than a shoulder and leg movement. So lift the shoulder blades. Feel like you're lifting the left back of the hip off the ground, or the tailbone. I get a little shaky here. You might feel some shaking. We're going to add an extension of the arm as well as the leg this time. One more breath. Now as you inhale, let that heel come down. Let the arm come down to the ground. So the ground supporting the weight of the arm and leg. But inhale and reach through arm and leg. Nice long left side body stretch. Relax the leg, relax the arm. Exhale, arch and curl. So some people will feel tightness of the psoas in the lumbar spine. That's probably the most common. Also in the front of the thigh. You may feel it all the way up by the rib cage or the armpit, because again, it attaches at that 12th vertebrae in the thoracic spine, the center of your spine. Just take a few arch and curls. See if you can keep the arm and leg relaxed. If you need to bend the elbow to do that, please do. All right, and sliding the arm back in and the leg back in. Last one on that left side. Pause for a moment. Inhale, arch the back. Exhale, curl the back, draw the leg in, add the head if you'd like. So use your shoulder area to support the weight of the head. You can let the base of the skull rest in the hand. Shorten and tighten the front body, particularly the left side. You might feel some of those muscles through your rib cage. One more breath out. When you breathe in, feel that lovely expansion. Slide the foot out and the arm overhead. Arch. So you're going to feel that whole left waist arch away from the ground. Let it arch. Then exhale, gently press the left waist into the ground. Inhale, arch the left waist. And exhale. You can think of pressing the whole left side body into the ground. Exhaling and inhaling, so gravity and levity. Levity, lift the body away from the ground. Gravity, you don't have to push as much. You might find it's more soothing to just let your body fall into the ground. So try both methods. How much force do you need, right? That's one of the questions. Check to see that you're releasing and relaxing the muscles in the arm and the leg. They're just resting on the bones. And this time we're going to stay here in this position. So if you find the arm uncomfortable, take it down. But we want to keep the leg long. So this is where I'm adding, this is another movement to this that has really helped me with the psoas. It's a lateral side bend. So with the left arm and leg extended, feel your fingertips and your toes first. We'll move from there because it's easier. And as you breathe in, reach your left fingertips and toes to the right side of the mat. So we're laterally or side bending the body. Reach on the inhalation. And then as you breathe out, we're going to go just the opposite. We'll find the contraction. So you're going to bring the left elbow towards the left knee and shorten that left side. So feel the tightness through the rib cage. Let the weight of the body stay rested on the floor, and we go back and forth. Inhale into the into the lateral bend through the left side. Take a few breaths there, so it doesn't have to be one breath per movement. In fact, this is a nice place to breathe into your left lung. Use your breath to expand the left side. And then eventually exhale and feel the contraction. Draw in through the left side, shorten. Maybe you want to hold that one for a few breaths. So one of the other main motions for the psoas is it takes your leg out to the side, what we call abduction. So this is where the psoas is working. And then as we breathe in and come into that lateral curve, we're stretching the left side out. Take a few breaths there. So oftentimes I take 2 to 3 breaths. If I need more movement, then I do it 1 breath per movement. So the exhale is here. And the inhale is here. So it's really up to you to decide, do you need more movement or more stillness? But not doing it just for the sake of movement. We do what we want to be in is what we call our felt sense. We want to feel it. And if you're going too fast to really feel the muscles and what they're doing to be able to let the brain process it, then stop and take a few breaths. You might find one of these positions. I usually find the openness of the lateral bend a good place to finish off with this left side. And I encourage you to breathe into your left lung. You might even place your right hand there. Your left lung is your little lung, just 2 lobes. Give it some love. Find that arch. And picture your psoas. You might notice that by breathing into your lung, you're bringing the breath back to what we call the origin, or where the psoas attaches at that 12th vertebrae, versus the belly breath down here. We have so much control over the breath, and it really helps us to rewire the nervous system. And that's what the psoas needs, because it's not like other muscles where we can just turn it off and on. It needs to be connected to our nervous system. And the breath is that bridge between the muscles and the nervous system. So come out of that one. Hopefully that was restful for you. Slide the left leg in for a moment and do an assessment back in your constructive rest first, just to feel, does it feel like your hips are landing differently into the ground? Is there any spicy feeling in either side? Just any weight differences in the way that you're resting. And it might not just be in the hips. You may notice the shoulders or the arms. And then for a little bit more of an assessment, because this helps you to know this is actually worthwhile, right? I feel different. That's the felt sense. Take both legs out long and just shake them out. And just sense yourself from your toes to the hips. If you were to draw a line right up the center of your body through your spine, what does the left side of your body feel like and what does the right side feel like? Is one side heavier or lighter or longer or shorter? And we do this, I call it the space of grace. We do it for two reasons. One is to recognize the benefits of these practices because they're so subtle that they often go unnoticed, but also to allow the brain to relearn. It's re-educating itself. It's feeling your left side and feeling the right side. And which side does your brain want to be in? Which side is more comfortable for you? And that's one of the best ways to get the Psoas to respond, is we kind of have to gently knock on the door. It likes the whispering practices as opposed to the hard driving lunges and all that sort of thing. And let's do the other side. So I'm going to slide my legs back in and turn around. Hopefully not bothering Bodhi in the least bit. You can keep facing the direction you're facing. So checking to see your constructive rest, that your feet are still where you want them. And start with just the arch on the inhale and the curl on the exhale. Once again, there might be some comparison notes going on. You might feel a difference on your left and right sides as you do this. And also checking to make sure you aren't a person who's overdoing it. Give you permission to underdo if you need that permission. The saying goes that the deepest wounds respond best to the gentlest movements. And I think that's true with the Psoas. So we're arching and curling. Notice too if your head starts to respond. It should come towards the chest on the inhalation and away from the chest on the exhalation. It's a self-notation. We'll begin to move from the right side. So next breath in, arch the back. And as you breathe out, flex the entire right leg. So the foot comes towards the shin, the back of the calf towards the thigh, and the thigh towards the ribs. You're shortening psoas on the right side. And just breathe there for a few breaths. Notice what that feels like. There's less room to breathe. You might notice that. So that's one of the things that happens when our psoas is always gripping, is it's harder for us to breathe. It's a chicken or the egg thing because of that relationship between the diaphragm and the psoas. Breathing releases it, relaxes it. And then take the foot back down. Inhale and arch. We'll do just the leg one more time. Exhale, curl it in. Tighten it as much as you can comfortably. And notice the position of the hips as the buttocks lifts up. Your weight goes probably more into that right hip. Taking those breaths. And release it down. So we'll go into the extension of the right leg. Inhale and arch. Exhale. Draw in and curl. Hold it there for just a few breaths. And this time when you inhale, let the heel come down so the weight of the leg supported by the ground. Extend by sliding the leg out, extend the right leg out. Let your back arch. It wants to do that. That's not fully stretching the psoas out yet. Once you begin to press the low back and low ribs or the right side body into the ground, then the psoas is asked to go into that full stretch. So that's where you might feel it in the front of the thigh or the low back. And then let the leg relax, shake it out, and continue with the arch on the inhale. Abdomen fills and rises. Exhale, press low back, low ribs into the ground. And you might watch any tendency to try to tighten the leg muscles. You want to keep those relaxed. That's like they're trying to protect. Don't let them relax. Just a few arch and curls with just that right leg extended. And then draw it back. We'll do that again. I'll give you the option of adding the head coming up. So if you're doing that, you're going to place the right hand behind the head. Inhale and arch. And when you arch, you might not only press the tailbone down and lift the low back, but also press the right shoulder blade and arm into the ground. You'll really feel that stretch through the right side. As you exhale, curl, draw the leg in, and perhaps hug your arm towards your ear. So we're not lifting so much from the arm and the leg, though. Think of bringing the hip and the armpit towards one another, so the torso muscles are what you feel gripping in the front of the body and the side of the body. Think of using your torso muscles. That's where the psoas is. And now when we release, let the head come down, slide that foot out. Inhale, still arch, so you can press the shoulder blade into the ground, and the low back lifts and arches. Let the leg relax and do a few arches and curls. Check in to see your breath is equal. Inhale and exhale, full, complete inhalation to the belly. And complete exhalation, letting go, releasing into the ground. Bring that back. Let the foot come down. I'm losing my partner here. So we'll go ahead and add the extension of the arm if that works for you, because like I said, sometimes the psoas tightness can be all the way up here. So breathing in, you're going to arch, lifting the low back and low ribs, pressing the right shoulder blade and arm slightly into the ground if you'd like, pressing the hip into the ground. As you exhale, press low back, low ribs in, so you're curling, and then curl up through arm and leg, but the curl initiates from the torso. Feel those torso muscles. You're going to feel that tightening through the rib cage, maybe even a little shaky. Get ready for your next inhalation. It's that movement of freedom. You're going to inhale, extend the leg and the arm, but let the leg and the arm, the weight of the leg and the arm rest on the ground. Extend as you arch. So at the top of the arch, it feels like your weight is resting in your hip and your shoulder blade. Let the arm and leg relax, and exhale and curl. Press that right waist into the ground, the whole right side body. Inhale and arch, and exhale and curl. Now I'm noticing that I'm trying to tighten the muscles in my right arm, so just putting a little bend in the elbow will help to release that. But I'm still getting the stretch through the right side, even under the armpit, through the ribs. Just arching and curling. Take it all back to constructive rest. We'll do that again on the right side. Sometimes I forget how many we do on each side, so you decide. Inhale and arch, hand behind the head if you're including the head. Press the shoulder blade into the ground and the right hip. Feel the arch through the right waist. Exhale. Draw in through the belly, so you're contracting the belly and then lifting up as you feel your back curl. Bring the right elbow towards the left, towards the right knee, but feel the shortening through the rib cage. The next breath in will take us into that beautiful extension. Arch the back. Slide the arm and leg away from each other, so you're lengthening through your right side. Relax the arm and leg. Exhale. Curl. Press the back of the right waist into the ground. And continue with that arch and curl. I know there's some days where I come into this and I take a few. You may find you want to move faster. You can do it here. Exhale. Inhale, exhale. So it can be one movement per breath if you like that. I like to just sort of relax in the moment. So see what works for you. More movement, more stillness. But either way, arching and curling. And then with this one, we're going to go into that side bend. So you'll keep the arm and leg extended. Sense your right waist and feel the fingertips in the right hand and the toes in the right foot. As you breathe in, you're going to, without lifting them up, you're going to slide the toes and the fingertips to the left side of the mat. So you're creating that C curve through the spine. The left side of the spine will be compressed and you'll feel spaciousness in the right side. Take a few breaths there if you'd like, particularly into your right lung. And take a breath out and slide the elbow and knee towards one another and see if you can shorten the right waist. I even take my chin towards my chest, but you're going to squeeze that right waist, almost like you're squeezing out a sponge. Feel the ribs come together. Take a breath or two there. And for some people, it's going to feel a lot better just keeping the leg on the ground. I am lifting my leg off the ground. If you want to be more supported by the ground, which the Psoas loves the support of the earth, then keep it down there. And then inhale, extend again. So side body curve. Notice how the left waist will shorten and the right waist is so long. You can breathe right into it. The breath out. We contract the right side, sliding that knee out. So there's where the psoas is also being used to go into abduction, taking that leg out to the side. We're shortening it. Inhaling and lengthening it. Breathe. Take a few breaths into your right ribs, into your right lung, the bigger lung. And exhale, contract it again. And see if you can find a landing spot in that extension. So your arm and your fingers are reaching to the left, your toes are reaching, but also note that we want to feel like the arm is plugged into the shoulder girdle and the leg is plugged into the hip girdle. So it's not just arm and leg pulling out of the sockets of your body. You want to plug them in and feel that the bend is coming through your torso. And then just resting in that space. You can visualize your right psoas all the way from the middle ribs, the 12th vertebrae, all the way down through the inner right thigh. Wherever your awareness goes, the energy flows. And check to see that you're not holding on to anything. The weight of the body is completely resting on the ground. Each breath out, you can release the right shoulder blade and hip further into the ground. And breathe out. Slide back to center. Reposition yourself just for a moment in the constructive rest. Pause there. See how it feels. So positionally, how does it feel now to just let your back of the pelvis come on the ground? Is one side more weighted than the other? Or how does your low back feel? And while the legs are bent, you might want to bring them in and just give them a little hug into the chest and a roll around on the back of the pelvis and the low back. Give it a little massage. And then we'll go into the extension of the legs, but just slide the feet out. And if going into the extension you feel that pull through the thighs or the low back is lifting, then you know. Just do your rest here in the constructive rest. Otherwise, just as an assessment, you can take the legs out. Is this position more readily available to you? Is it more comfortable? That is a sign that we are hydrating the psoas. The other way to do this is to extend the legs and roll a blanket and put it underneath. But what I really prefer is knees bent and let the heels go a little bit wider than the hips and allow the inner knees to fall towards one another and rest. That makes a little more space than the low back. Just taking a few breaths here. Think of breathing into the space in the center of your back, all the way down through the low back, and even into the inner thighs. Feel the buoyancy of your breath as it lifts you and levitates you on the breath in, and releases and relaxes you on the breath out. Finding that balance between levity and gravity, and letting that message go into the psoas muscle, the muscle of your soul, or the messenger of the midline, knowing that you're completely supported. Those complementary opposites of activation and relaxation, of tension and compression. The psoas knows that you are in a space of balance. And a really nice way to come out of this practice is to roll to either side and come into a fetal curl. It's another very harmonious gift for the psoas, is to rest in a fetal curl. So you might use your arm as a pillow or anything that's comfortable for you. So fetal curl, you want to really draw your legs in to curve your spine. So we're coming into that curved spine in a way that your back body feels long and your front body feels short, but more importantly, it feels protected. We come into a fetal curl to allow this protected state, all of our organs, maybe even taking more breaths now into your back body, the spaciousness from your tailbone to the base of the head and the neck. You can stay in this position as long as you'd like, especially if you find it restful. When you're ready to come up, please use your hands and arms. Push into the ground. Thanks for joining me for this redo on my psoas hydration. Peace, joy, love, and light to all of you, and thank you, patrons, for your continued support. I hope to see some of you here someday.